This is Trabr. We're creating the technology and the ecosystem for everything building. We're creating a market network which boasts a marketplace and a mobile-first, cloud-based suite of project control tools for builders, consumers, trades, suppliers, for everybody. All on the smartphone, all remote, all mobile, all for building. This is Trabr, and this is a building conversation. G'day, this is Tony Huxley from Trabr Limited. I'm delighted to be joined today by the head of Cape Cod Australia and in his spare time the President of the New South Wales HIA, Rob Moerman. G'day Rob.
G'day Tony, how's things?
Good. Thanks for joining us, really appreciate you making the time. Let me ask you a curly question. If you could just reach into your drawer and pull out a crystal ball, how do you think home building might evolve over the next 10 to 20 years?
Look, seriously, I think technology is the only way that anyone will be able to keep up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And by technology,
we all hope that over the next 10 or 20 years, a single form of software might come into play.
Yeah.
I don't think, if we want to go back and have a look at something that was built 30 years ago, I'm talking about the product itself,
yep.
And we go and have a look at that product today, we could put a fresh coat of paint on it and it'll look brand new. And the processes, so the actual method of construction hasn't necessarily changed that much. However, the processes or the compliance and the documentation trail compared to 30 years ago is enormously different.
Yeah, massively different. Yep.
So that's where all the change is happening. And ultimately, in 30 years' time, I'm still going to need a plumber to come to site to put the drainage in.
Yeah.
Okay, more than likely. Okay, I'm still going to need an electrician. I'm still going to need a carpenter to actually possibly hang the door, even though it may come pre-hung. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
However, those hard set items are still going to be a requirement. Therefore, long live the trade. However, the way that trade is communicated to, how he then communicates back, how then we communicate to our client is going to change dramatically. Okay, and the keeping up, everything from the way that I actually ask somebody to do a task, to the way that they invoice me the task, to the way that they get paid for that task. Okay, it's just not going to be the same. I mean, you can go back 20 years ago and supervisors would generally drive around and pick up all of the invoices from the trades and they might get paid 14 days later or whatever the arrangement might be. Yep. When the supervisor came back out and delivered a cheque to them, or they went to the office and picked up a cheque.
Yep, sure.
It's just non-existent now.
No, of course not. Of course not.
Now, they still get paid.
What's a cheque?
I don't know, us council, they somehow still only work with cheques in most cases. But anyway, that's a whole other story. So I think the biggest changes over the next 10 years will no doubt be in the way of technology, the way that we communicate, the way that we plan. However, the execution of the task itself, I think generally will still...
We're not going to see the robots invading, is it?
No, not in a hurry. So I think those are the areas that we will see the greatest change in. I think those technologies already exist in numerous forms. Yeah. I think the beauty obviously will become when somebody gets to tie all of those things together in one format. So.
Understand. Last question, I'd love to get your feedback on. Costs in the building space just inexorably rise, and that's nothing new, but I guess building's such a lumpy number that it gets a lot more attention than a lot of other costs in society. Do you have any perspective on how builders and building materials suppliers, and maybe even regulators, can help to mitigate costs rising at the degree that they have recently?
Look, I think
if at all.
Sure. I mean, generally speaking, whether it be in the supply of materials, whether it be in the supply of labour, if we look at what we might call CPI increases, is really the greatest, is the only increases that should be coming coming across. So let's say your CPI might be 3%. There's no reason why building should go up more than 3%. You may get one part of the product going up more than the other. However, as a general rule of thumb, that should be it. The biggest area that is accelerating the cost increase to be greater than any CPI cost is compliance. There's just a massive impost when I sit there and look at what we now need to provide prior. So I'm talking everything prior to it going to a shovel in the ground.
Yep.
Okay. So, and I don't think most consumers actually realise that the upfront cost prior to anything even starting is probably in the range of 12 to 14% of the cost of a build.
Of the total project.
So for every $100,000 worth of build, you're looking at the best part of $12,000 to $14,000 of cost, and that's only going up because you talk about certifiers or professionals, public professional indemnity insurances, and the ability to get them, and not only that. Because we live in such a compliant, rigid world, it's not just a matter of having somebody design the engineering, then they have to actually come in and sign off on it. No longer is it somebody that says, okay, this is what you need to do acoustically. It's not, trust me, I will follow that. You need to get then another professional come in to sign off on that, and it goes on and on and on, because nobody takes responsibility. So every area it doesn't get covered by one person, it gets covered by numerous.
Everyone's looking to mitigate risk.
Absolutely. That comes at a cost. So and
that's all front loaded.
Absolutely.
Fundamentally.
So people often talk about square metre rates to build, okay, but never take into account then on that square metre rate how much of that is a compliance component, okay? Because if there's no compliance component, that still needs to be covered by the client. Therefore, I can design something to say, that's gorgeous, and that will cost $100,000 to build. And by the way, it'll cost you also another $10,000 in compliance. And often the compliance and design stage takes longer than the build itself. I will often say to clients, the build's the easy part. It's everything before and then getting it signed off for an OC at the end. That's where the rubber hits the road.
Jumping through the hoops, as they say.
Absolutely.
Rob Moerman, thanks for your time. It's been fantastic. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Good on you.